ways to stay safe. Can we do that with protecting? How can we, surround ourselves in protection, and is grounding part of that? And I think this is a great question, because this is probably so often the number one question we get oftentimes, because it's kind of moving away from that Reiki space of just for today, don't worry, just for today, be in the present moment, embody Reiki. And that way, when we lean into the traditional Reiki, the protection isn't necessarily needed. And I'll tell you why. Because there is this solid 100% knowingness that the Reiki is doing its work, that the Reiki is flowing, and we can trust the Reiki to provide everything that we need in that time and in that space. And then as we move into shamanic Reiki, what we find is that we are in action. So there's a part of Reiki that's the being Reiki, allowing Reiki to fully embody us. And as we move into shamanic Reiki, there is the action steps. We're finding cords, we're finding intrusive objects that need to be released. We're finding things in the body that needs to be let go of. And in that space, we do need the protection. We need further support from our guides and our ancestors and those loving beings that want to support us in this work. And so just as when we called in our directions, this is calling in our protection, it's calling in our strength, it's calling in our helpers. And notice, if you participate in that, what it feels like, how these spirits just kind of go, they're right there, they're right here to be with us, to protect us, to keep it safe. And notice how I'm always I'm adding in the word loving. I'm not looking for all the ancestors. There might very well be some ancestors of our past who don't wish us well. We want to call in our loving guides, our loving ancestors, those who are looking out for our highest good, right? And so I'm a huge advocate of calling in what I like to call my heavy lifters. So if we're in a session, setting up our sessions with an intention. So calling in our guides, calling in our helpers, setting the intention for the session to allow for the highest good to come through, the highest healing possible to come through and make itself available, and to release anything to Mother Earth. We need to ground it. So just like when we were grounding in the very beginning, feeling that earth energy beneath us, we're telling where the releases should go. As the practitioner working on someone, I don't want to absorb their releases, and I don't want my furniture to absorb their releases. I want to tell it where it goes. So when we talk about protection and grounding, these are really beautiful key ways to keep a session safe, by allowing our heavy lifters to do the work that they want to do to support us. So oftentimes as a shamanic Reiki practitioner, my job is to call them in and then get out of the way. And so that's when I can just let the Reiki flow and feel into the auric field, feel into the energetic body, and really see what needs to be healed, and let the Reiki guide my hands, let my spirit helpers, the universal power animals, that the healer animals, to show up and do the work with me, and really allow them to guide the session. And so that's like key for me. So, once again, calling in your heavy lifters is a great way for protection. As you move through your everyday life, staying grounded is key, but it's also understanding that we are energetic sovereign beings. And what I mean by that is when we claim our energy, it can't be taken by anyone. We all have this free will. And what undermines that is our limiting belief. So if we have a limiting belief that we're inherently flawed or we're inherently unworthy of love, all of these underminings basically allow gaps in our auric field to allow heavier, dense energies to move on in, whether that comes in the way of intrusive objects, cord attachments, or manipulation from other entities, darker, denser entities. And so we have to work on ourselves. And I think this is so, if you've listened to any of my thing, I constantly go back to this, that self-care is key. We have to not only do our daily self-care with Reiki, but we need to look and examine and get curious about any limiting beliefs that we hold on to, because those are those areas of gaps in our energetic field. If we have a limiting belief and it's attached to a chakra, guess what? Things can just ride right in on that weakness and get into our energy field system. And so doing our deeper self-care work, doing our shadow work is key to protecting ourselves. So even while we're doing it, and we're regularly calling in our loving guides, our spirit helpers, that's going to help keep us safe while we do our deeper healing work. And I've been doing Reiki for 20 years and I still have work to do, right? Like it's a never ending journey, and that's beautiful. And I got to say it again, it is beautiful to continuously work on ourselves and find all of those layers that need healing. And when we do so in a very loving and protected space, we can really go deep. And so getting grounded is key. I really believe that we need to dive inward and go down and really connect with earth energy before we really go big and up. In the Shamanic Reiki practitioner training, each chakra has equal amounts of time for each chakra. And it's pretty dense material in the root, sacral, and solar plexus, because those are all self-reflective. When we get into root chakra, we're looking at what foundations have we set up? What money mindset issues do we have? What are things in my life do I need to create a safe foundation for to do this deeper and then higher chakra work? What is the foundation? And then the sacral chakra, it's like, what childhood traumas do we have? What wounds do we have here that need healing? How's our inner child doing? Where's the sexual trauma? Is there any? Does there need to be healing in this area? Right. And then we move into solar plexus. Okay, here we are at solar plexus. The solar plexus really wants us to identify who we are. And it's full of limiting beliefs and self-sabotaging behaviors. And so we want to clear all of that out so we can identify with, yes, I am a divine being in this human suit with a purpose. Like that is solar plexus. And solar plexus also comes with, learning how to do soul retrievals to really make sure that you are all whole and complete, and that we have really done this work of releasing what no longer serves us, whether that's through cord cutting or through soul retrieval work during that Shamanic Reiki practitioner training, right? And so we do some really deep, heavy work before we get to the place of, okay, let's move into heart space and have relationships and throat and let's communicate and seeing and really developing and heightening our clairvoyant gifts, right? Tuning into all that is in crown, right? We have this deeper work that we need to do first. And in doing so, we clear out those limiting beliefs, we clear out those old wounds, and then we are in a very healthy, protected space, grounded in it to do work on others. And so I have a real firm, deep belief that this is necessary to be able to really be a masterful practitioner. And so even if you've been doing Reiki for 20 years, if you've been in the spiritual industry for a long time, if you've done spiritual work, spiritual healing in the past, it doesn't end. There's always more. And so sometimes when you work through the chakras in our programs, one chakra might feel lighter than the other, but I've never had a student in all of these years who has been like, oh yeah, I'm done. I've done all of it. Like there's always another layer to move through. And so in that process and the Shamanic Reiki practitioner training, you are learning about your power animals, your spirit guides, and developing relationships with them to build out your spirit team, so that when you move into the upper chakras and you're doing work on others, there's that, that my power animal showed up and they're defensive around this other entity. Like you start seeing it, you start feeling it, and you can read the room a lot better. And that's developing that clairvoyance gifts in the whole process. So that's my take on energetic practice and energetic protections.